biggest issue I've heard thrown around about Mapo Tofu recipes is that they're either too complicated, in the sense that they have like 15 to 20 ingredients, or they're so watered down that the taste ends up being off. Neither one is what you want, obviously. The version I'm making today sits somewhere in the middle. It's the Japanese home cook version, and it's got that same deep, numbing, garlicky flavor you'd get in Sichuan, but simplified enough that you can actually pull it off on a weeknight. Hey, it's ETA, and today's adventure lands us in China, or Japan, or both? Today we're making Mapo Tofu, and before you say, oh, that's China, not Japan, hear me out, okay? Just wait like 5 seconds. I've gotta roll the intro. Mapo Tofu was born in Sichuan, but Japan absolutely fell in love with this dish. Walk through any Japanese grocery store and you'll find the instant Mapo Tofu packets right next to the delicious Vermont curry roux, baby. I love this stuff. Honey and apple is the only flavor that you should be eating. If you're eating anything other than honey and apple, fight me in the comments. I'll make time. I'm just kidding, that was a joke. Just wait till the winter time comes around, I've got an awesome curry recipe that you're gonna love. My point is, Mapo Tofu is a staple, and the Japanese version does something really smart. It dials back the face-melting heat just enough to let the Sichuan peppercorn come through, almost like it's welcome in the dish. That numbing, tingly sensation puts the ma in Mapo. Seriously, that's what it translates to. If you've never had it before, it's kind of hard to describe. It's not spicy like a chili, it's more like a tingly. Like your mouth buzzes kind of burning. And while Mapo Tofu isn't on every Japanese menu, this style of cooking, and by extension this Japanese interpretation of Chinese food, is pretty big in Japan. It's the food you'd actually eat if you lived there and wanted something different. So we're doing it now, baby, let's get into it. First up, let's talk ingredients. This is not a long list by any means. That's part of why I love this version. First, tofu. You want anything from soft to medium firm. Not silken, because it'll fall apart and then this will lead to the watering down problem I was talking about earlier. And also try to stay away from extra firm. Extra firm will not absorb the sauce properly. Medium firm, on the other hand, holds its shape and you still get that custardy interior. Soft works just as good after you've drained it for a few minutes. You can find tofu at basically any grocery store now, not just at your local Asian market. Nice. Next up is doubanjiang, fermented broad bean paste with chilies. This is the backbone of Mapo Tofu. It's deliciously funky, salty, and a little spicy. From what I've read online, if you take this out, you no longer have Mapo Tofu. I will say though, if you have an Asian market near you, try to pick this up. If you don't, you can order it online, but at the end of the day, if you truly can't find it, you can use miso with a little chili paste. It's not the same, but it's fine, you'll get close enough. Alright, next up, my favorite of the peppercorns, Sichuan peppercorns. These little guys are non-negotiable. You cannot skip this. This is what gives Mapo Tofu that buzzing, numbing sensation. Without them, it's just spicy tofu, which is fine if that's what you're going for, but it's not Mapo Tofu. Next up, ground beef. And traditionally, it is beef in the original version. A lot of people like to use pork here to really maximize the crispiness in the oil, which is actually a more recent thing. Somewhere in the timeline, people went from cooking the beef a little longer to get it crispier to straight up replacing the beef with pork to get full-on crispiness. And you can use pork if that's what you're into, but I feel like this version I'm making, although it isn't the one-to-one traditional recreation of this dish, it deviates just enough to where it still tastes pretty much like the original thing, but it's easier to where people like you and me can replicate this at home. Alright, next up, we'll talk aromatics. Garlic, ginger, and green onion. And you want the whites and the greens separated. These three ingredients together make up what is known as either the Holy Trinity or the Mirepoix of Asia. It also has a couple different names, but the point is, the reason for this is if you look at almost any recipe that comes from this region of the world, they almost always have some combination of these three ingredients. If traditional French cuisine considers celery, carrots, and onion as their most pivotal ingredients, their mirepoix, you can treat these three ingredients as the same for any recipe that comes out of this region. All three of these ingredients are going in together, but the reason why we separate the whites from the greens is for garnish at the end if you want it. If you don't care about garnish, just don't put them in. Next up is some chili oil for finishing and dried chili flakes. The Japanese version tends to go a little lighter on the dried chilies to really push that chili flavor in the final dish. Alright, that's really it. Like 7 or 8 different things, most of which you might already have. Let's start the prep work. First, the tofu. I'm cutting it into cubes, not too big, not too small, about 3/4 inch pieces. You want them big enough to hold their shape during the cooking process, but you also want them small enough so that the sauce can actually get inside of them. Alright, now here's the trick for the tofu. You want to soak the tofu in hot salted water for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now we do this for 2 reasons. 1, the salt draws out some of the water inside the tofu so it doesn't water down your sauce later. Secondly, it firms up the outside just a little bit, so the cubes don't break apart when you're stirring. Just remember to be very gentle here. The tofu after this process will essentially be unflavored jello. I know that sounds horrifying, but it accurately describes the situation at hand. And as a bonus, this process replaces some of the grassy flavor inside the tofu with a nice salty profile. And there's nothing wrong with a little extra salt. All right. Next up for prep work is the garlic. I'm using 3 or 4 cloves, roughly chopped, not quite as fine as a mince, big enough to where you can see each individual piece. And the same goes for the ginger. I'm using about the same amount of ginger. I'm julienning them first and then I'm dicing them up. The garlic should look like this when you're done, and the ginger should look like this when you're done. The green onion whites are next. You want to slice them thin. We're going to cook all of these together, like at the same time. All right. Next up is the Sichuan peppercorns. I'm toasting these in a dry pan on medium-low heat. Okay, don't toast these on anything past medium heat. You will end up burning them, and believe me, you do not want the smell of burnt peppercorns in your house, let alone these Sichuan peppercorns. Because of the numbing sensation these peppercorns have, it'll get hard to breathe in your house really fast. Just keep it on low to medium low for maybe a minute or two. 2 minutes tops. Don't go past 2 minutes. You're essentially just waiting until you can start to smell them, until they turn fragrant. Oh man, this smells so good. I love Sichuan peppercorns, dude. Okay, once they're toasted, grind them up in a mortar and pestle, or a spice grinder, or a coffee grinder. Whatever kind of grinder you have, it doesn't really matter. Just get them into a powder. Okay, let's start the cooking process. I have a wok here that I'm putting on medium-low heat. If you don't have a wok, totally fine. You can use whatever pan that you have. You just want something big enough that can hold all of these ingredients. So again, I've got this on medium-low heat, and medium-low heat is important. We're not stir-frying on high heat. Mapo tofu is a gentle dish in the sense that the flavors need to be built, and those flavors are built in layers. Once the pan starts to get nice and hot, put some oil in the pan, about a tablespoon or so, just a little bit to get things started. Then the meat goes in. I like to spread the meat flat, kind of like I'm making a smash burger. You want it to get a little brown, like a little crispy on the bottom. The Maillard reaction is free, you might as well take advantage. That caramelization on the bottom, that's the flavor. Once you've got some nice color, go ahead and flip it and then break it up. Not too fine, you want some texture in this. See how it's browning like that? That's what you're looking for. Now the aromatics go in. Garlic, ginger, and the white parts of the green onion. Keep the heat down to low, medium, lowish. We're not trying to burn the garlic here. Burnt garlic turns bitter and it'll ruin the entire thing. Just get the garlic nice and fragrant. 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds max. The next thing to go in is the doubanjiang. I'm adding in about a tablespoon, and you can add more if you like the flavor profile it brings. Either way, make a little well in the middle of the meat mixture and then add the doubanjiang into that well. Stir it into the oil. You're frying the paste here, okay? This cooks out the raw fermented taste and it also wakes up all of those flavors. And you'll notice really quickly the color is going to get deeper and redder. Don't be alarmed if your house starts to smell delicious. Maybe open the window. Make your neighbors jealous. And some recipes will call for fermented black beans at this point. You would add those in now if you're using them. Not using them because I seriously did try to find them. There's not that many Asian markets near me where I'm at. Like the closest one is 45 minutes from here. And I went there and they didn't have any. And I didn't have time to go to my backup Asian market, so I just came home. I wish I had them, but I don't. If you did have them, you'd add them in now. What I will be adding into this though is my chili flakes. And then the ground Sichuan peppercorns will also go in at this step too. Next thing to go in is about a cup of liquid. You can use chicken stock, beef stock, or honestly just water. I'm using chicken stock just because I already have it, but seriously, don't feel bad about adding water here. The doubanjiang and the beef have already built so much flavor, you don't really need much else. Whatever kind of liquid you end up adding, just let it come to a gentle simmer. Alright, the tofu goes in now. And remember to be gentle. If there's one thing you take away from this video, I want it to be this. When you're working with tofu, remember to be gentle. The best way to stir Mapo tofu is to either move the pan around or just slide this whole situation around inside the pan with a paddle or a spatula. Like how I'm doing here. Don't jab, okay? You're not jabbing, you're not fighting the tofu. Just slide it around gently. You want those cubes to stay whole. Let it simmer for about 5 minutes. The tofu will absorb the sauce in that time, and the sauce will thicken slightly. Now I say this line a lot. This is when everything comes together. If you're making this at home, you will see those words come to fruition in real time. Everything will literally come together in these 5 minutes. And at the very end, you're gonna make a cornstarch slurry, just to tighten everything up. For that, just take like a teaspoon of cornstarch with a splash of water, pour it in, and then stir the whole situation again gently. You'll see this thicken almost immediately, and when you see it thicken, cut the heat, you're done. Now to finish, add the green part of the green onions on top and drizzle a little bit of chili oil if you want more heat. All right, let's give this a taste. Oh man. I mean, mean, if that reaction doesn't tell you how I feel about this dish, then I don't think anything will. Watching and editing this video, I'm honestly jealous of my past self. That numbing sensation I was talking about, you feel it right away. It's not hot, it's not burning, it's like a buzzing. Don't think of this as like a Mexican food kind of spicy. It's not like that. Your mouth is not gonna burn so much that you need like a glass of milk. It's like a buzzing, numbing sensation. And then that doubanjiang comes through, man, that funky, savory, deep flavor, and the tofu is perfectly custardy on the inside, but it held its shape. And of course the beef brings in that rich, meaty flavor. Now I'm telling you, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but Mapo Tofu feels like the perfect weeknight meal. This whole thing took me maybe 30 minutes total. That's with moving the cameras around and making sure I got a good shot and all that stuff. Most of the ingredients are pantry staples after you buy them just that one time. I'm not kidding, this tastes like something that you'd pay like $20 for at a restaurant. So if you're feeling up to it, honestly, try this recipe. Make it your own. If you don't have doubanjiang, do that miso thing I was talking about at the beginning of this video. Use whatever you have. If you want it spicier, add more chili oil or more dried chili flakes. At the end of the day, as long as you're able to open up your mind and experience these flavors, you will have a good time. That's what makes cooking fun. If you made it this far, I'd love it if you subscribed. I'm working through the Epcot World Showcase series. I'm gonna deviate a little bit and start making some marshmallows and stuff for the summertime. But Japan is coming up, and that's a huge pavilion. There's more coming on this channel. Let me know if you tried this recipe down below.